Kiss in the 1980s. Is that really what we're going to talk about? Welcome classic rock fans and welcome Patreons to another video where we talk about that band. And we're going to talk about the 1980s because, as you know, that was a golden period for Kiss. If you're new to this channel, please do click like, subscribe, check that notification bell. It's always very important in terms of helping this channel to grow. And check the links below this video for ways you can support the sterling work done at Classic Album Review. So if we had to rank the 1980s albums, where would we begin? At the bottom, obviously. For me, that's number 8, which is Hot in the Shade from 1989. 1989's Hot in the Shade was recorded to coincide with the band's summer tour. Oh, the integrity. Never mind, Hot in the Shade is an album that comes across as decidedly half-baked. Instead of Forever, it should have been called Forgettable, I think. It seems to be a collection of offcuts and demos and stuff that just wasn't seen as being up to scratch. Having seen Kiss with Eric Carr, it's a shame that he couldn't have ended his tenure with the band with something more significant, shall we say. Number 7 is Crazy Nights from 1987. Saw this band on this tour, and my God, they were loud. This album is very much the epitome of the 1980s sound that this band was striving for, competing with the likes of Van Halen and Whitesnake, of course. And there was a massive shift in the musical direction from the 70s period to the 1980s period, early 80s period. By the time you get to this, they're very much competing with Coverdale's lot, I think. Crazy Nights was an anthemic one for them. It was actually got in the top 10 in the UK charts. Reason to Live is another good one, I think. But generally this album feels a little bit generic 80s rock/metal. Generally this album feels somewhat disposable, I think. Hell or High Water, I think that's on this one. That was a great tune, though. Number 6 is Music from the Elder from 1981. I think this is the album that drove Ace Frehley even further down the old booze road, I think. This is Simmons' misguided concept album, Kiss Do Tommy. I think this is an album that, had it not been tainted with a Kiss brand, not that there's anything wrong with the Kiss brand, but this album and Kiss just do not go together. If this had been a solo record by Simmons, maybe it would have had a little more critical acclaim, possibly. The Oath is a wonderful number. It's a great opener to this album. It's a song I'd love to hear them play live. They don't do it very often, if ever. But generally, some of the playing on this record is quite impressive, really. I mean, The Oath, Odyssey, Just a Boy Under the Rose, even though the whole idea comes across as a little bit indulgent and pompous. It's, I suppose, the result of massaging Gene Simmons' ego, allowing Bob Ezrin free rein, totally unfettered. And the strings and the choirs give it an epic scale, but it just comes across as bombast for the sake of it. This album, unfortunately, is, I think the worst thing I can say about it is it's misguided. Number 5 is Asylum from 1985, and despite that absolute vomit-inducing cover, it's not such a bad record. It sees the band trying to compete with all those hairspray and lipstick bands like Poison, Cinderella, Rat. I thought they would have gotten tired of all that sort of stuff, really, and just gone, I would have rather they had just gone nastier. You know, I think Creatures of the Night Lick It Up is the direction they needed to go in. They just become harder and darker. That's what I would like to have seen from Kiss in the 1980s. Instead of all this pop metal. Tears Are Falling is one that they've been dusting off for their recent tour, but it's one I wish they'd left in the can, quite frankly. Who Wants to Be Lonely is not bad. I'm Alive, Tried by Fire, and Love's a Deadly Weapon. Okay songs, but fairly nondescript. And of course we get the artistic and incredibly tasteful All Night. Less said about that one, the better. Number 4 is Animalized from 1984. Saw this band on this tour when they were having guitar troubles, shall we say, guitarist troubles. And Bruce Kulick is a remarkable guitarist. Certainly moving away from the psycho issues they had with Vinnie Vincent. However, it doesn't exactly ooze personality within the context of that band. But Animalized is not a bad record at all. It includes the excellent single Heaven's on Fire. Thrills in the Night is a really, really good one. Love that tune. Saw them do it on the Animalized tour. Under the Gun is another good heavy number. Saw them on this tour when the whole stage was kind of like animal skins. A very stripped back show for Kiss about this time. And of course they were supported by an unknown band from New Jersey called Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi in 1984 were really a band worth seeing. Number 3 is Unmasked from 1980. This is Kiss's pop album. It has there's a lot of good quality tunage on here because Kiss, I'd hate to admit it, know how to write a decent tune. They've got a good ear for melody, I think, and that certainly is apparent with this one. And the disco album, as I disparagingly call it. I slate these albums a little bit, but I must admit I absolutely love Dynasty. And this album I have a soft spot for as well. I always enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of the song She's So European, Is That You, the Ace number, Talk To Me is great, Naked City, another good one. Overall, in terms of the songwriting, melodies, it's not half bad. But it's not really, it doesn't feel like a Kiss album. It's sort of like a pop rock album. Number 2 is Lick It Up from 1983. Arguably this band, I think Paul Stanley says at this time, when you become known as the band that wears the makeup, it's time to take the makeup off. And they certainly deliver with this record. They go hard and nasty with this one, which is really the direction they should have stayed in rather than wandering back into that kind of faux pop metal syrupy crap, really. But this is the sound that I would have liked them to indulge us with for at least another couple of albums. Love the cover. The cover is very stark. It's kind of a manifesto, as this is who we are, really. It's free of all the cartoonish aspects of the 1970s. Although we love the 1970s Kiss, you've got to think about by 1982-83, that whole brand was beginning to seem a bit tired, a bit last decade. So this was the band reinventing themselves as a hard metal, hair metal band, if you like. But I think the tunage on here is great. I love Fits Like a Glove, a song they would play live for a few tours after this. One of my favourites is Not For The Innocent. It has that chiming guitar and menace to it, which is wonderful. All Hell's Breaking Loose, what a great single that was. Lick It Up. And Eighth Day, it's got some great tunes on this. It's an album I would certainly like to buy as a kind of deluxe edition. I don't think they toured this album, did they? I'm pretty sure they didn't tour this album. And number 1 is the inevitable Creatures of the Night. Not only the best album they did in the 1980s, arguably one of the best albums ever. The only reason this doesn't quite make the top of people's lists is because it doesn't include Ace, I think, and it's been to drift away from that core Kiss identity. But I don't think all the 4 members of Kiss actually played consistently on an album since 77's Love Gun. But nevertheless, Creatures of the Night is a manifesto where this band needed to be. It almost feels like a kind of an apology to the fans for losing their way, I guess, going for the kind of disco pop, the concept of the Elder, and finally Kiss returned to that sound that very much made the Alive album what it is, and the albums before then, of course. It's a return to that hard rock that we wanted from them. My favourite track on this album is a track called Killer, which I never play. Rock and Roll Hell, another brilliant one. I love those Simmons sung numbers. War Machine, co-written with Bryan Adams. And Creatures of the Night is a wonderful song to open this album. That flurry of drums. Keep Me Coming is a bit cheap and nasty, I think. And I Still Love You is a kind of a power ballad that slows the whole thing down, quite frankly. I would rather they didn't put that song on this album, but replace it with a couple of tunes that are just heavier and darker. Wonderful artwork, of course, although it's a bit of a fib, isn't it, because Ace does not play on this record. Preserving the Kiss brand. But there you go, Creatures of the Night is an album that proved that we really do love it loud. And that was a great single in itself. It's a song that I've heard too many times, quite frankly, but a great single. Lovely drum sound. Not the awful drum sound. They remixed this track for the Smashes Hits and Thrashes compilation album and absolutely ruined it. So the best album of the 1980s for Kiss is Creatures of the Night, undoubtedly. So you've been watching a short and brief ranking video. Thank you for indulging me. Hope you're well, staying safe, and more importantly that you keep listening.